Broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
Welcome, my dear friends.
Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough. Give me 101.1 effort.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
My name is Emmanuel Gundepo. I'm a security man working in Central District. Keep listening to Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Welcome to Media Lab on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Thank you so much for being part of the program. Yesterday we had a great time talking about some of the topical issues making the rounds across Nigeria. And like we've always emphasized, Media Lab is a program specially designed for media men and women. In other words, journalists with different levels of experiences who come around and dissect some of these issues. Remember, the stories are written by these same people, and that's why we try as much as possible to get those who are real professionals in this area. So it's more authoritative when it comes from them. We will dissect as many issues as possible, and we will get to open the phone lines for you to listen to say your opinions out to members of the public. So we'll take a look at the first story, but before then I'd like to introduce my guest in the house. From the Leadership newspaper, I have Mr. Bode A. Badebo. He's an editor on the MDA's monthly. You're welcome to Media Lab at this hour.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And we also have a journalist, a renowned journalist as well, Mr. Douglas Na. He's also a practicing journalist, both for print and the broadcast journalism. Welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So we'll go straight up to the first story. We'll go to Plateau State, where the Air Force has deployed fighter aircraft troops to help ground fighters. Obviously, during the week, we know about the situation in Plateau State in Bassa local government area, and we know also that the president has been very, very sad from all indications with that. He has totally condemned the killings in Bassa local government area of Plateau State, and he has said that a marching order be given for a complete end to the crisis and even possible reprisal attacks in that state. Now, the news says that the Nigerian Air Force has deployed its troops and fighter aircraft, including the L-39ZA aircraft and the EC-135 attack helicopter to Jos Plateau State to join the military effort in curtailing the herdsmen's killings in the state. This deployment was announced on Thursday by the NAF, that's the Nigerian Air Force Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Olatokunbo Adesanya, who said that the step was a directive from President Muhammadu Buhari to the Air Force on the Plateau incident. And that's the latest development, as a matter of fact. But let's start with Mr. Bode. What is your take on this? Is this a welcome development, and is it coming at a very timely, in a very timely manner?
Sure. It's a very, very swift move. You remember after the attack, the president described it as a madness, and it has to stop. So he gave the military people marching order to move in and curtail the menace of these kind of killings. And you know, the interesting thing, or a very, very unfortunate thing about this incident was that military were there already.
You think that this will find a lasting solution to the problem in Plateau State?
If there is sincerity of purpose on the part of the...
How do you mean by sincerity of purpose?
Yes. The military have to be sincere to all parties, have to be unbiased, have to be neutral. So if there is sincerity of purpose, this can be nipped in the bud. Yes.
Is this a common trend that you have seen writing and editing for a newspaper like the Leadership?
Well, it's not. But for the first time, we are hearing people pointing accusing fingers to people who are supposed to protect them. You know, it's an unfortunate thing. It may be true, and it may not be true. But on the part of the security people, they have to be sincere in their attacks of ensuring security of life and person. So I believe with this latest move and directive from the president, this can be, actually curtailed.
So we're hopeful that many things will come to play eventually, but the president is not around. You think this can be handled even when he's in his absence?
The president necessarily doesn't need to be around. You remember, it's a directive and it's a presidential order. He is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, as he has handed this directive to the armed forces. So whether he's around or not, the directive must be executed to the letter.
Douglas?
Well, before I...
You have to come closer to the mic.
Okay, before I comment on this issue, let me use this opportunity to commiserate with the government and people of Plateau State for the unfortunate incident that happened in their state. But be that as it may, I also want to say that beyond condemning the issue, beyond, commiserating with the people, this issue of Fulani herdsmen, it's not did not just start today, and I think I also want to use this medium to also, call on the military to be on the alert. What is happening to intelligence gathering? This thing has been happening in so many states of this country, and again, I think I'm calling on the federal government to first proscribe this group of people who are going about killing innocent Nigerians, making blood to flow. And it's unfortunate because these are my brothers, these are my sisters. How do you feel when you lose a loved one? They are Nigerians. Even if they are not Nigerians, they are people created by God.
They're first of all human beings.
Yes.
They are human beings, and they have the right to live. And it's unfortunate what is happening in the country. I think the military should wake up to their responsibility. The police should wake up to their responsibility. All security agencies and the people should also wake up to their responsibilities, because this should not continue to happen in a country, and it's a threat to our existence as a nation. Thank you.
So let's just say that the writer of this story did a good job, didn't he? Expressly saying how it is. But again, let's remember that yesterday we had told you that in Niger State there have been calls for a peace treaty which came around eventually between herdsmen and farmers in communities around Niger State, and that in itself is commendable, isn't it? But again, herdsmen have called for creation of alternative ministry to promote livestock development. The story reads, herdsmen on the platform of the Confederation of Traditional Stock Breeders Organizations in Africa, CORET, have called on the federal government to create a livestock ministry separate from the Ministry of Agriculture and rural development to ensure inclusive growth and development of the sector. What is your take on that, Bode?
It's unnecessary.
You think it's unnecessary?
Yeah, it's unnecessary.
Douglas, you think it's unnecessary?
Absolutely unnecessary.
Why you don't want to? You're on the same side, obviously.
Well, you know, the truth has no color. The truth is sacrosanct. The truth is universal. Now, we don't need a separate ministry for livestock development in this country. The existing Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is enough. And what we need to do is simple. People have been arguing for and against the argument, for and against the idea of creating ranching across the country where herdsmen can domesticate or cage their animals and feed them, you understand, for commercial purposes. Or in the alternative, because for people who are against the idea, they said nomads or herdsmen are nomadic in nature. They move around. Is their own way of life. They move around. You can't, encumber them in a particular place. And the idea is okay, let them respect the law of the land by grazing only along designated grazing routes in this country. You don't need to stray your animal into people's farm where they have invested money. You
think the Ministry of Agriculture is capable of handling that?
Of course.
How
With
so?
the recent introduction of rangers.
But we still see cattle roaming around the streets of
That is the
Abuja,
problem.
even around area 1,
In fact,
about
that one is a national disgrace. I don't know why. Maybe because the person who is the FCC minister is a Fulani man. I don't know why.
You think it's that's not an
He has been
authoritative
making
accusation.
I'm not making an accusation. I'm making a statement. It's a statement of facts.
But how is it factual?
He has been making pronouncement about unauthorized movement of animals in the city center, and he has never for once executed his own order.
But do you think it's because of where he comes from? It's possible that you can be in charge and something else can go wrong.
Well, naturally, you are bound to have sympathy for your people. If he is Fulani, he is also bound to have sympathy to some extent to Fulani men.
Well, but that's not a fact.
Well, it's not the fact, but it's a statement.
I don't agree it's a fact. What do you think, Douglas?
Well, I must, it's better we lay issues as they are. The fact remains that two key issues are the biggest challenges Nigeria is facing today: the issue of tribe and religion. And I think the earlier we come together and eschew all these things that tends to divide us, the better for us.
But let's remember, we've had a ministry of Niger Delta because of the sudden situation in the Niger Delta. We've also had another ministry, of course the Women Affairs Ministry, because of the need for women and all of that. I mean, is it wrong to have a ministry that will be in charge of livestock?
Well,
livestock is not a form of farming that is for the Fulanese alone. I mean, it's something that we know many people keep rear livestock in their farms.
Okay, talking about that, I think I would suggest that a ministry should not be created for livestock and or what you can or what
livestock ministry, yeah.
Livestock ministry. What I would want the federal government to do, that it should be a department under the Ministry of Agriculture. You understand? Because creating ministries here and there will lead to what we call an abuse of creation of ministries. You understand? Because, okay, even if you want a ministry to be created for this reason, must you kill to achieve it? No, it's a simple question. Must you kill to achieve it? Must you kill other Nigerians to achieve it? There are due processes on how things can be get done. You come to the round table, you talk. You must not, present your case by bloodletting. It cannot help anyone. Instead, the country will be put in a state of disarray. People should come together and follow things normally, following the right procedure. You understand what I'm saying? So I think creating a Ministry of Livestock will not help the situation. Rather, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, it's big enough to bring about or to bring together every thing that has to do with agriculture. Of course, livestock is part of agriculture. So creating, I think it will be like bringing similar things differently, and there will be confusion. I tell you, there will be confusion.
All right, so moving away from that development, we also have seen a story about 2019. It says election monitors, journalists, security, CSOs to vote ahead of election. And it reads, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has said arrangements are in top gear to ensure that disenfranchised persons such as journalists, security personnel, election monitors of the civil society organizations, CSOs, and prisoners vote ahead of elections. Before we go into that, we'll take a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at this area of discussion. Stay with Human Rights Radio, 101.1 FM. This is Media Lab.
My name is Femi Adeshino. I'm the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity. I'm proud to identify with Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. I'm glad that this station has come up at a time like this under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, a man that respects the human right of every Nigerian. Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
We declare that human rights are for all of us, all the time, wherever we are and wherever we are from. This is a matter of individual justice, social stability, and global progress. The United Nations protects human rights because that is our proud mission, and because when people enjoy their rights, economies flourish and countries are at peace. Violations of human rights are more than personal tragedies. They are alarm bells that may warn of a much bigger crisis. The UN's Human Rights Upfront Initiative aims to heed those alarms. We are rallying in response to violations before they degenerate into mass atrocities or war crimes. Everyone can advance the struggle against injustice, intolerance, and extremism. I call on states to honor their obligations to protect human rights every day of the year. I call on people to hold their governments to account. And I call for special protections for the human rights defenders who courageously serve our collective cause. Let us respond to the cries of the exploited and uphold the right to human dignity for all.
Human Rights Radio.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Welcome back to Media Lab on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Before we went on a break, we were talking about the situation in Plateau State where the president had given the directive, and of course the Nigerian Air Force has moved in to support ground troops in fighting the herdsmen who have been prone to attacking communities in Plateau State. The latest being that of Bassa local government area in Plateau State. And of course we moved on to another story. We talked about the call by the herdsmen for a creation of an alternative ministry to promote livestock development. And we said the herdsmen on the platform of Confederation of Traditional Stock Breeders Association or organizations in Africa, CORET, have called on the federal government to create a livestock ministry separate from the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Then, of course, we promised you that we'll take a look at the next story. 2019 election monitors, journalists, security, CSOs to vote ahead of election. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has said arrangements are in top gear to ensure that disenfranchised persons such as journalists, security personnel, election monitors, members of the civil society organizations, CSOs, and prisoners vote ahead of elections. And with me discussing most of these issues today is Mr. Bode A. Badebo, an editor with the Leadership newspaper here in Abuja, and of course Mr. Douglas Na, a broadcast and journalist as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming by.
It's a pleasure.
So what do you think about the latest story about the election, Mr. Bode?
Yeah, I think the latest decision by INEC is very, very innovative. And like you know, voting and to be voted for is a constitutional right of every Nigerian who has come of age. So if journalists, civil society organization people, and other police and the rest who are on essential services on election day will now be allowed to vote ahead of the election day, it's a welcome development. But with a caveat, this novel idea must not be subjected to abuse. Abuse in the sense that INEC should not use the idea by committing or allowing other parties, external parties, to commit electoral malpractices ahead of the election day. It's very, very important.
So you think that it's possible to buy up some of these journalists in the case of journalists?
Well, the target people or the target voters are not journalists alone. You're talking about prisoners behind walls, behind prison walls. We don't know their population. We don't have any statistics about them. Prisoners.
Don't you think that the media will cover all of that? Because obviously the prisoners will not come out to vote.
You see?
Rather, the polling units will be taken to them.
In fact, personally, I would suggest that this idea should be in phase.
So they should phase it?
Yes, at the initial stage, we shouldn't allow prisoners to vote. Let's start with the people on essential services first. If this succeed.
But you started off by saying it is the fundamental rights of everyone in Nigeria to vote.
Yes, but you know what? Somebody in prison, you've already denied me a particular right. That's why I'm in the prison.
Well, that right is not denied. It's taken away from you because, for instance, the freedom of movement.
Yes.
It's taken away from you because of a crime.
Yes.
Possibly alleged crime that you've committed.
Yes. And over time, you're also taking away from them freedom of election because we're just coming up with this idea. So if for now, we are not still considering them, it's no problem because Nigeria is now 57-year-old as an independent nation. We've been conducting an election before 1960, and prisoners in Nigeria have never voted. So what are you talking about?
Have journalists themselves been able to vote?
Of course. Not all journalists are on essential services.
I covered elections, and I remember the team we covered with got an award at the time in the last elections. And honestly, I'll be frank with you, I couldn't vote.
Yes.
Because most journalists are on the streets. Douglas, what do you think?
Well, in as much as I think INEC tries to be creative in this sense, but I must not also welcome that development in the sense that who checks them? The CSOs, the journalists, the police. What is the process of checks and balances in terms of who monitors them in this regard? And apart from that, even if that should come up, it shouldn't be, they shouldn't vote before the elections. For me, it should be maybe if elections is like 1 week, I think they should vote. They should just be the people to round up the election, vote maybe after everything have been done. I think that one will. This set of human beings will now serve as a beautiful bride, because what they do after every process will now determine who wins the election. They'll say, okay, these people have really played their role in contributing to nation's development. I think coming ahead for me, who checks them, but I think after the election, because by then there will be tension in. I think it will be interesting if the votes after the normal Nigerians have voted, if they do that. I think for me it will give room for Nigerians to say, wow, these people have done, they are the beautiful bride in this election and all that. I think that is my own perspective on this issue.
That's quite interesting. Now, more concerning issues on this program today. But again, we want to ask that question. If you raised a fundamental question, who monitors the journalists? Who monitors the security? Who monitors the ESO? I mean, INEC is there to monitor.
Yeah, I have raised a similar concern that this idea, as good as it is also subject to abuse, and that's why I urge INEC not to.
But even apart from that, we've seen abuse of electoral processes. Yes. Even when the journalists were to cover the elections and monitor even with the CS of monitoring. We've seen a lot of abuses. We've seen ballot snatching. We've seen wrongful...
The full gear of cameras.
Yes, and all of that.
Well, at this juncture, I think whatever malpractices that take place in Nigeria is about Nigerians. And it shows that it's not about a particular person or a particular political party. It's a societal thing. We need value orientation. We need to know the electoral process must be sacrosanct in order to produce good leadership, which ultimately will also engender good governance. So if we are compromised before the election, or if we are compromised during the election, it simply shows that the result of that election will be faulty in one way or the other. And if the result of the election is faulty in one way or the other, it simply tells you the kind of leadership you should expect, whether good or bad. So it is a collective responsibility. We need value reorientation. We need to be more patriotic in all our dealings, whether election or otherwise.
Okay, in addition to what he has said,
your mic, please.
Yeah, in addition to what he has said, I think, talking about, because I just saw in the news today that over 1 million ad hoc staff of INEC will be also used to, for the elections. Now, these people, are they also part of those that will vote? The 1 million is not just 10,000. Are they also part of those on essential services? Are they also part of the voting process? Because in a game of football, the referee is unbiased.
He's expected to be unbiased.
It's expected to be unbiased. Now, I want to get a clarification. Of course, you are the one asking, but I also need to be clarified, or whether these 1 million people will also be part of the voting process. Are they on essential service?
This is why I don't like to interview journalists, because you end up asking the journalist that's asking you the question. You're trying to do away from me.
No, I think INEC staff are not part of these target people. But then this is a case of, let me illustrate it this way, the case of the umbrella, who during the rainy season will provide a cover for you, but cannot cover itself. So INEC is trying to accommodate more people to be involved in the decision-making process, because election is a decision-making process to decide who becomes our leader. So INEC is trying to encourage more participation, maybe in line with the principle of the more the merrier. But now INEC is also excluding its own staff who will also be on essential services on that day. Maybe with time we will get there. They may be accommodated.
Yeah. And again, how does, because we copy the Americans, we copy their style and everything. How do they do it? How have we elevated ourselves? How have we improved on how the Americans do their election? How they go about those on essential service? Do they vote the same day elections is going on, or do they vote before? Because we copy from them. I think we should also follow their templates on how to do these things, because that will also give us the right guide.
But remember, the Americans can also vote via the post offices.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, if you try that,
our technology, we've not gotten to that stage.
Exactly.
So I'm not even with him about the timing of the election, whether these people we're talking about are voting before the election or after the election. That is not important to me. They can vote anytime. What is of paramount importance to me is the transparency of the process. That is all. The transparency of the process matters.
I think that's what matters to many Nigerians as well. But let's take a look at the next topic of discussion. Monkeypox back again, spreads to Delta. 9 persons have so far been hospitalized. And the story reads, about 9 persons have been allegedly hospitalized as the dreaded monkeypox disease hit Delta State. A doctor at the Federal Medical Center, Asaba, who confirmed the development, said the remaining victims were from around the state capital. This is a big issue, isn't it? When are we going to see a final story about this?
Mr. Peter, it also gives me a great concern seeing that another deadly disease have hit the nation. And it started from Bayelsa, and before it started spreading like wildfire. In as much as I don't want to sound as if I am the spokesperson of the previous administration, but you could also remember that when Ebola is a disease that was started to be one of the most dangerous in the world came about, the way Nigeria handled it, I think we got commendation from the international community. And what are they doing? Why don't they borrow a leaf from what the previous administration of Dr. Goodluck Jonathan did? Okay, again, even if they don't want to come out to say, okay, how did you do it? I think I also urge the president, former president, to come up with, to come up and also contribute using the former ministers, because they're also Nigerians. It's not when you are out of power, I think your support or contribution to nation building dies. No, it should be a continuous process, whether you are in or out of power. Now, if the federal government of today lacks what it takes to to be proactive on this issue, I think I am saying that previous government should show them the way. It's nation building, because this monkeypox we are talking about, I've seen it. It's number one, it's irritating, it's deadly. You can't even behold the something on your face. You understand? So I think it should be a collaborative effort by both the previous government and the current government. It is not just a one-man thing, because God forbid it could be our person tomorrow. Even those people suffering it today are also our people. They are Nigerians like us.
So, but again, even when you borrow a leaf from the previous efforts when we had the issue of Ebola, which of course we know that many African countries had to consult Nigeria on that basis, do you think that we have the capacity to fight even this particular sickness, disease as it comes? I mean, because we don't know which one will come tomorrow. Do we have the capacity to manage sudden diseases? If Nigeria, for instance, and I say God forbid, like Nigerians like to say, if Nigerians, for instance, were faced with the issue of what's that one in Brazil again? The one that had babies, some mosquito kind of.
Transferable.
Yes. If that was the case, I mean, think about it. Do you think how do you see Nigeria managing that?
I think,
considering the fact that our infrastructure in terms of hospitals are poor, we also have the challenges of personnel, whether we have research-based institutions that can handle some of these things. How do you assess that?
Yeah, before I answer your question, let me first of all, disagree a bit with him on the preparedness or the arrangement by the government to be on top of this situation. The government, as it is today, is trying its best to make sure we are, drive out the monkeypox away from the country. Now, to answer your question, the truth of the matter is the capacity is not there 100%. We don't have it. And the first pointer to that, when this monkeypox broke out, remember, the sample of the virus was taken to a continental health facility in Dakar, Senegal. And it took days or weeks for the result, to return back to Nigeria. That shows the level of our preparedness in case of any emergency. But I still want to appreciate the government for doing a lot to make sure that this monkeypox is not contagious. And on the part of the people, they also need to heed government warnings. Government has been bringing out a lot of precautionary measures. Don't eat bushmeat. Don't do this. Don't do that. But people are still indifferent to all this because they believe, okay, they've been eating the bushmeat for years since birth. So why is bushmeat being blamed for all these kind of things? So I think we need to trust government at all levels. We need to trust our government. We need to take precautionary measures to make sure we don't contact a very deadly and strange disease.
Please, I also want to totally disagree with my colleague here, because when you now Nigeria prides itself as the giant of Africa, right? Now all these things requires what we call sincerity of purpose. Nigeria have what it takes to bring down any disease, no matter what it is. That is if there is sincerity of purpose for every leaders, from every leader. You understand? Now, you heard recently how the wife of the president, was so angry about the state of the Aso Rock Clinic. So much was voted to that clinic, and you see how everything was mismanaged. If the real money budgeted for facilities in hospitals and everything is being utilized and managed well, my brother, we will rule the world, not just Africa. Are you getting me? So there's no sincerity of purpose from leaders that we trust so much. Now they keep preaching trust government, trust government, trust government. But the government are they really trusting the money we put into their hands? That's a very important question. Are they really trusting the money we put in their hands to do certain things? Are they not diverting the money? I think if there's sincerity of purpose, I believe that Nigeria will fight any disease that comes its way, anytime, any day.
Quite an interesting argument there. If you're just joining us, this is Media Lab on Human Rights Radio, 101.1 FM. And of course, if you want to be part of this discussion, you can simply pick up your phones and call us on the number 081 89 99 1011. You can contribute and be part of the discussion. Let us know what your thoughts are on some of the topics of discussion. Media Lab is a program where we bring in journalists from different spheres and try to dissect some of the topical issues on ground. Let's take our first call. Hello? Kindly put off your radio set when you're calling us to contribute. Try as much as possible to stay away from your radio set if you can't put it off. Hello?
Hello, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
It was a very good discussion.
Thank you so much.
I think I want to buy the idea of the last speaker.
All right.
Is all the money that is being kind of put into one place or other is digitalized. Our country is very much in a good place to fight any kind of disease that may come across our way. But the truth is that we have leaders that always tell us this is the way to go, this is what to do, and at the end of the day, they don't follow the way, they don't do the thing that they ask the people to do. And that's our problem. And if such thing continues to be within the table of the leader, there's no how things will work. Leaders always seem to know when they say something, they will do what they have said. Let me tell somebody to do this one today, it will go along that they begin to do another thing. It doesn't work like that. And that's not how it's going to work. So, If our leaders want us to trust them, they begin to show us what will make us to trust them. They begin to do things that will make the citizens to trust them. Because you can't tell somebody trust me where there's no evidence that will make the person to trust you. So there's no help to work. So I'm very much happy about the last speaker, what he said. The leaders will be transparent and committed to their responsibility. In fact, there is nothing you cannot do in this country. God bless you, sir.
Thank you so much for your contribution on Media Lab this afternoon. Go ahead and be part of the discussion. Call us up on 081 89 99 1011. We still have one more story to take a look at, and when we come back from the break, we'll still open up the phone lines. Then we will discuss that. But I think we should take this one since I just announced the number. Hello.
Good day, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm calling from Oklahoma.
What's your name?
Mr. Basi.
Basi, go ahead.
See, the eighth thing I want to add there is this. Can Nigeria be trusted? Okay, if the only thing that is because during the dollar issue, when the federal government did very well that the tackle dollar very well. If the government has no idea, they should go ahead and borrow ideas for the federal government. And the only way to tackle this is multi-pause. Multi-pause is always by the fraud. The fraud carries the from the forest to the people. You understand? So the only way to tackle it is to go more research into that, to get this vaccine to treat. Because once the dollar came, you're trying everywhere, but now this is multi-pause. The country has to calm down. It is not about criticizing or terrorizing or anything. They should go ahead and ask the federal government how they tackle the dollar. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear more from our panelists, journalists in the building, and of course, open up the phone lines. Then we'll take a look at the last topic. Have a great time. This is Media Lab. We'll be back.
As a business owner, you may ask yourself for a reason why to advertise with Human Rights Radio. Well, I'll give you 5. 1. We operate a 24-hour Facebook TV that accommodates all our programs and with over 50,000 views per program. 2. All around the world, millions of people tune into our station live on our Human Rights Radio app, available on Android and iOS. 3. We are employing over 2,000 conversers ready to attend to all your advertising needs. 4. With our very affordable rates, you are guaranteed the best value for your money. 5. We go beyond radio and can be found on all other social media platforms, including Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Periscope, proving that while other stations enjoy listenership, we enjoy followership. So if you're still asking yourself for a reason why to advertise with Human Rights Radio, I believe the right question is, why haven't you already? Welcome to Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting. As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
All right, welcome back from the break, and thank you for staying tuned in to Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. This is Media Lab. It's a program for journalists and media practitioners where we dissect topical issues that we ourselves have created and written. We have in the building Mr. Badebo, an editor with the Leadership newspaper. We also have another journalist in the broadcast and print industry, Mr. Douglas Na. And before the break, we were talking about the monkeypox and the reactions from different quarters, especially the responsibility of the government to the people. But let's take a look at what someone has to say from out there. Hello? Please, Again, we'd like to emphasize that you should please put off your radio sets before you call us. Otherwise, we'll have poor network connection and bad feedback coming from you. Okay? So feel free to call us up on 081 89 99 1011. So before the break, Douglas had mentioned clearly that his position was that the current government should have borrowed a leaf from the examples that we've learned or the experiences we've learned from the previous government during the Ebola issue. But we'll come back to you, Bode, after this. Hello?
Hello?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Haruna.
Haruna, please put off your radio set.
Okay, I'm going to.
Go ahead, Haruna.
Please, about this multi-post. So our government, they know what they are doing. Are they worried the regime? Are they telling them that they don't have money to go and look for solution? Our former president did a lot and he fight for Ebola. And today, I believe Ebola is the worst sickness in this world, in Nigeria. Let's say in Nigeria. For this multi-post now, if it is Ebola, if it would have extended more than this. So please, let them react to this thing before the thing take over the whole Nigeria. Thank you.
You know, the problem with this is that eventually there's also stigmatization. If you've had it once, it just comes with some sort of stigmatization. So even if it's something that comes and goes, it is still not good for it to spread. Yeah. Hello? Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Chidema.
Chidema, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Chidema.
Okay, thank you. Please, my contribution is this. I want to agree with one of the speakers who said it depends on the priority that each government gives any of these things that comes up, and not really the trust, because Nigerians have been trusting a lot. I remember that in the last administration, the way the pursuit was on the high side, every Nigerian was satisfied, but I can see that even within the monkeypox that is going on, I hardly can even hear it, see it on the telly. You can only hear it on a few radio stations, but when they were on the ground, it was all over, posters here and there. The thing was so much. Do you know, I was discussing with some friends, they told me that, look, this is Nigeria, let us tell the truth. Nigerians still believe that the rate at which the government will go about this monkeypox will not be the way they think about Ebola, because they felt that Ebola could catch the high class. And now they are feeling that monkeypox is something that has to do with the low class. That is the mentality, you know. So that the approach of the government will not be the way it is with Ebola. But I still believe that the government can do something. There is positive celebration regarding this monkeypox. The rate at which Ebola was talked about is not the way this monkeypox is being talked about. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution, Chidema. Quite an interesting call there. But again, let's go back to you, Bode. Your position is that the system has not changed.
Yeah.
It is the politicians that have changed. I'll come back to you after this call. Hello?
Hello?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this program.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. Let me tell you something.
What's your name? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm coming from Abuja. I couldn't know the place. I'm just a little here.
And what's your name?
My name is Solobi.
All right.
Now, you are talking about prisoners to come and vote. You journalists, you go there to see their condition. Now, a prisoner contest election. Why don't you allow 15 years old boy to go and vote? Because they cannot contest. Why are you journalists discussing something that you're supposed to be telling Nigerians the truth? For me, you are also conspiring into this table that is affecting the land. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling. I think that's a direct information for you, the journalist, and possibly myself.
Yeah, I think, but the last caller didn't listen to the program very well. I personally was against the inclusion of prisoners in this idea. That even if it becomes necessary, let's wait for the right time. So because prisoners are not supposed, you have them already serving a prison time for some offenses, so they can't be part of this idea. Then talking about the monkeypox and the government. Now it gladdens the heart that people, in fact most of the callers, refer to former President Goodluck Jonathan's government. And the man actually, when he was living in Nigeria, we also, I remember him. So it gladdens the heart. But then, if you call President Jonathan now and ask him, how did you overcome Ebola? He may not be able to tell you. You know why? He was not a specialist in the field of healthcare. But there were technocrats in his government who did the magic with his own support as the political head of the country. So the system remained the same. It was only the political office holder who left in 2015. We have a new set of political leaders in the country. But the civil service, which is the life wire of the government, is still there. The technocrats are there in the Ministry of Health. So if they are sincere, we talk about sincerity of purpose. If they are sincere, we can overcome this in no small time. We can do it, but we need sincerity of purpose.
All right. So I think it's time for us to go now. Unfortunately, we cannot take a look at the other topic of discussion that we thought we could discuss. We will do that next week because this is the last edition for the week on Media Lab. However, let's hear final thoughts from you, Douglas, and then we'll come back to Bode.
Okay. Once again, I want to thank you for inviting me. But what I want to also say that the federal government should be sincere in everything they are doing, and once they are sincere, I believe change begins with them. Because once they are sincere, Nigerians can adapt to any distance. Once the federal government is sincere, and sincerity means, look, don't treat the other region, so special, and treat this one so as if the person is a second-class citizen. Treat everybody equal. Have a sense of give every citizen a sense of belonging, and when you do that, Nigeria will be paradise on earth. Okay, that is my take.
Mr. Bode?
Yes, my final thought on the last discussion and the last caller. The idea by INEC to make sure journalists, civil society people, police and other people on essential services vote.
And
prisoners is a welcome development, but minus prisoners. Prisoners already have rights to life. They are in prison, they have right to life, but they can't have rights of voting because the right of their movement has been removed from them. And so they can't go to polling booths. So for now, the idea is good, but it should not include prisoners.
We don't want elections to be taken into the prisons because not everybody will be there to see it.
Exactly. It will be subject to abuse. Yes. It will be prone to abuse.
We're afraid that the political class might take advantage
exactly.
of that. Anyway, but thank you so much, Bode Badibo, for coming. You came from the Leadership newspaper. We'd like to appreciate your contribution on the program.
It's my pleasure being here.
Thank you so much, Douglas, now a broadcast journalist and a print journalist as well. Thank you for being part of the program. Media Lab returns next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Have a great time. My name is Peter Kundum.